Hey guys, it's good to see you today. It's Ryan with DP Marketing Services and author on the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors. I'm down here in the corner. Hey, coming at you a video that's kind of fun, but we've seen a lot of chatter in different sort of trade groups lately online. And so we wanted to talk about something that is a little bit nerdy, but I think it's helpful for you guys. So here, this is a cost of acquisition kind of chart. So look, if you're a plumbing, HVAC, home service contractor at all, you know how important leads are, right? You need calls. You need to run those calls. You need to keep your guys busy. The trick is, as a business, one of the things you have to be always mindful of is that the calls that you're getting, you are actually economically efficient in being able to make those calls make money for you, right? So for instance, if you need 10 calls to stay busy, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to spend $1,000 per phone call because you're going to go broke before you actually turn a profit. So what we're trying to do, like for us, we try to find the most efficient way possible to make your business profitable over time. So that means we just have to think about the math differently. So one of the common things that a lot of guys are thinking about right now, it's this idea of paying for every click, paying for every lead. And look, if you're in some markets, especially if you're a new company, paying per clicks and paying per leads might be one of the few options that you have. However, they tend to also be some of the most inefficient options you have. So to kind of walk through what I mean by efficiency, I mean profitability, I mean the ability for your business to actually generate cash flow. I wanted to walk through what this looks like. So this is a little quick cost of acquisition calculator I created. And here, this is just like a normal sort of kind of breakdown of like if you were to hire a company, right? And I just kind of made up these numbers as benchmarks just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. So a lot of times you can expect to pay the range on how much you pay someone to manage like pay-per-click, like AdWords, for instance, can vary. But let's say you're paying someone $6,000 a month, right? And let's say for the $6,000, they're managing like 4,000 of ad spend. You can make this number go up. You can make it go down. It doesn't matter. So your budget's your budget. But for this exercise, we're just going to do 4,000. This average cost per click, to walk through this, average CPC stands for cost per click. This is how much those clicks on AdWords cost you on average. The trick is, just to think this out loud, this is based on your market and your competition, among other factors. This $10 average cost per click tends to be the national average for plumbing related searches. In some markets, plumbing searches can be way, way, way more than that. In some markets, it can be way, way less. But nationally speaking, that's a conservative average. So your mileage may vary on the average cost per click. For this math, this is kind of what this is bouncing out. But same thing. This is a formula, so we can adjust it for the sake of the exercise. And then lastly, conversion rate. Conversion rate for this exercise is the amount of people who became a lead after visiting your website or GMB or whatever, right? Because remember, the goal for your business is not getting people to visit your website. It's for them to call you. It's for them to book time on your calendar. That's the goal. So if people are visiting your website, but none of them are booking, there's a problem, right? So this is kind of the exercise. If we were to scale that out, I've got this math and I built these little blocks to kind of hide things so it makes a bit more sense. At this math, right? If you have a $10 average cost per lead, cost per click, and you have a $4,000 ad spend and a 10% conversion rate, you're going to expect about 40 leads. Okay. So if I were to spend more, if I was to spend 6,000, this number would go up to 60. If I were to spend 100,000, or go up to 1,000, you would see those numbers change in real time. But for this, again, I'm keeping it 4,000. You would see those 40 leads. And if you divide those leads by how much you paid to acquire them, you get this cost per lead. So in this case, this cost per lead is not clicks divided by ad spend. It's actually clicks divided by ad spend plus the management fee. So in this case, and you could actually see it here, you can see that I've got those things together there, and I've got this together there. So these are adding it together and then dividing it by the number of leads. So this cost per lead right now is $250, right? So another way to think about this is for every $250 that you spend, you create a lead. The question is that good or is that bad? If you're selling a $20,000, $30,000 system, $250 per lead is not bad, no big deal. If you're doing a garbage disposal, $250 per lead sucks. So what you really want to think about here at this point is this other factor. Move this other box down. So we have average ticket. So you should know this number of what your average ticket is. A lot of the guys we work with have an average ticket between $800 and $1,200. For this, we'd said, okay, let's just make it a conservative thing. Let's say maybe you're not rock star at sales, so your average ticket's $500. Cool. So if your average cost per lead is $250 and your average ticket is $500, your ROI is going to be so this is a ratio, 2 to 1, right? 2 to 1. So for every dollar that you spend in AdWords in total, you double the money. Now, out of that math, then you have to do the rest of your business. You have to pay your tax, you have to do payroll, you have to do marketing, you have to do insurance, you have to do all the other things. But for this exercise, 2 to 1. In Google AdWords world, 2 to 1 is not that bad. Google's own research says that they would expect you to make $2 for every dollar you spend on AdWords. So this holds up to be true. And here's kind of the trade-off, right? It's going to be really fast when you do paid ads. You're going to be able to see those transactions happening, those clicks happening. It's going to be coming in quick. But financially, it's very inefficient because it's going to be costing you $250 per lead, and your ROI is going to be 2 to 1. So you're not going to be making as much money on that as you want. You're also going to be budget capped, right? What that means is you will not be able to outperform your budget. So if your budget is $4,000, that's going to be your limit if all this other math holds true. If your budget is $50,000, then that's going to be your limit if all this other math holds true. You will absolutely be capped by your particular budget. The other thing is you'll be capped by your market. So this shouldn't be surprising. If you're in a town of 100 people, you are not going to get 100 people clicking on your ads every month. So there's going to be so much you'll be able to make in your market, but that will be consistent for everyone in your same market. But the real things are, it's going to be fast. It's going to be financially inefficient because cost per lead will be high. It will be budget capped. It will be only as effective as you're willing to pay, and it will be market capped. So at some point you run out of potential to get new leads. If we compare that to organic traffic, right? So paid traffic is good if you want things to be fast. But because it's inefficient, it's sometimes a not great choice. If you want things to be more efficient, here's the approach with organic. Now, organic is going to talk about anything that is on page 1 of Google, anything that's on the map section. This is ways that you're not paying per click, you're not paying per lead. Customers are naturally finding you because Google is recommending you by their algorithms. So I'm going to keep all this the same, right? So I'm going to keep the management budget the same. Let's not change any variables there, but you're not spending money on ads. There is no cost per click. And let's say your conversion rate's the same. You can totally change any of these things, but let's pretend that it is. With organic traffic, I'm actually going to show you the numbers from an actual client for the past 30 days, right? So this is fresh data from one of the guys. He's not in a super huge market. He is not like super rock star 500 truck shop, just a guy running a company. So this is his call volume from organic calls, right? As of right now, he has 576 calls in the past 30 days. So these are actual leads, which means if you do the same math, his average cost per lead is $10.42. $10.42. We have a whole lot more leads at a whole cheaper cost per lead compared to AdWords, right? So right out of the gate, you can see that it's more efficiently functioning because not only are we not limited by budget, right? There's no like ad spend limit that's holding this back. We're only limited at this point by the market potential, right? No budget limitation. So because there's no budget limitation, we can get a whole lot more leads at a much cheaper cost. And this is assuming this is the same number, right? Which means if we look at these side by side again over here, if your average ticket was the same, if you have a $500 average ticket using organic traffic, your ROI will be 48 to 1. This is an actual client of ours. This isn't a made up example, right? This is an actual client who has a 48 to 1 return. It means for every $1 they give us, we give them 48 when you run this math. It is extremely, extremely, extremely effective. Now, there's some downsides, right? So if you want to compare these side by side, this is slow. Whoops, go away. Save and close. It's going to be slower than AdWords. Google's time frame is it takes between 4 and 12 months before you notice organic traction. It's going to be financially efficient. So same thing, instead of it being $250 per every lead, it's every $10. In this case, $10.42 per lead. And no budget cap. It will be unlimited potential on the budget, but you will still have the market cap, right? If you still have 100 people in your town, you will always have 100 people in your town. So you probably won't get 576 calls. This is something to think about. And remember, these conversion rates, you can totally work on these. You can say, hey, what happens if we have a 12% conversion rate? What does it do to your ROI? The ROI on this all calculates different. What happens if you do 22% conversion rate? Great. All those things will start changing in real time. But here's the point. If you are paying for your traffic, and right now there's a whole lot of companies we're seeing moving to primarily depending on paid traffic to get work. So they're saying they're only going to live on PPC and they're only going to live on AdWords, or they're only going to live on AdWords, or they're going to live on GLS. You're going to be stuck up here. GLS will be more financially efficient. It's not going to be as efficient as this, but it will be better than AdWords only. You're still going to be looking at a really inefficient way to scale, because the profit margin remaining after you acquire that business is going to be much smaller. In comparison, we love working with companies to grow the organic leads without paying per click, without paying for all these different things, so that we can get very, very inexpensive cost per leads. This gives us the uncapped potential. This gives us really efficient cost of acquisition. And as an ROI, it's kind of stupid. It borderline looks made up. But so my encouragement to you, if you're watching this, think more than just, I need calls, I need calls, I need calls, because calls at an expense will still shoot your business in the foot. Just like having your guys sit around the shop or going home for the day because you don't have calls is bad for your business. So is bleeding out the back door because you're busy, but you're not being profitable. Don't necessarily look just at the top line. It's like, hey, we sold 100,000, 300,000, 500,000, 10 million, whatever. Don't just look at the top line. The bottom line is where you actually know that you're healthy. If your ROI for your entire marketing is 2 to 1 for your entire marketing, I would make the argument that's unhealthy. If your ROI is closer to 48 to 1, let's just say anything over 5. Anything over 5, you're okay. But you want to make sure that this number is as healthy as possible for your business, because this is going to be a health metric saying that your business is more profitable, it's more effective. Even if your top line might be a little bit smaller, your top line, the expression goes, is sanity, or is vanity. That top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity. Focus on being profitable, focus on being efficient. Don't just throw good money after being busy. Throw your money after being smart. I would love to hear what you think. I know it's going to throw a lot of people off their groove a bit. I know some of you going to get a little bit frustrated by seeing, why the crap am I paying this much per lead with whatever I'm doing? But I'm curious to know your own experience. And by the way, there's a whole lot of variables I left off that I did not include on here for the sake of just clarity. But so please don't think that these are the only variables to consider, but I'm just trying to walk through the math that at a given ad spend with PPC, you still have an average CPC that's holding you back. You still have a conversion rate that's holding you back. And so you're going to be budget capped. That's really the point, right? It's not saying, hey, what about impression share? And what about all this? Like, those are totally legitimate points. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm just trying to keep it simple and concise. Spend your dollars where they'll make the most benefit for your business, right? Yes, the job board should be full, but also your business should be profitable. You can't be busy at the expense of profit. I would love to know what you think, because again, I know it's going to throw some of you guys off. What would you add? What would you take away? Leave a comment below, because I'd love to hear from you. As always, guys, follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. Hope you're doing good, and we'll see you next time.